Hi everybody, it's Janet and welcome to my channel SugarShine Designs. Today I'm going to be working with the new Hen House Cubby Set from Art Impressions. I'm also using 3 of the 2021 AI freebie stamps, which are earned with a qualifying purchase. The outside features 3 of the AI stamp freebies, and the inside is a 3D version of the Hen House Cubbies with all the little chicks. And this is easy to make without any special dies, so let's get going on it. To begin with, I wanted to show you the Hen House Cubbies all stamped and cut out. Of course, have this adorable little hen house with the doors that open, and you've got all the windows cut out. And then there's a weather vane that goes on the top of this, as well as all the chicks and some signage. There are 5 little sayings on here that you can put in your sign, super cute. Here I chose Fluffy Butt Hut. It's so adorable. And then here's the die that comes with the set. Actually, there are dies for the chicks as well, but it cuts out the doors to open like you saw in all the window openings. In the openings, I'm going to use the chicken, which comes from the freebies that you get with a qualifying order, as well as the cow. I kind of made that into a brown and white Jersey type cow. And then we've got the cute little lamb. And all 3 of these will be used on the front. The front card panel is 5 1/4 by 4, and I'll be cutting 3 circles into it. I've used the 4th die from the circle double stitched die set as a template, and I'll just take a pencil and draw the circles in where I want this to cut. That allows me to kind of space things out and everything, and then I will go ahead and start cutting those 3 circles out. Now the nice thing about using the AI dies is they are inside out. In other words, on the outside you will get the stitched markings as well as in the inside piece. In this case we're not going to use the inside pieces, but it is really nice to have the stitching on the outside. I cut 3 slightly larger circles of cardstock that I'll put behind, and that will create a little green space almost like grass. Now you could also, instead of cutting 3 circles, you could put just a panel slightly smaller than this underneath. I could have done that, but for this purpose I just decided to do the 3 circles. Once I felt pretty sure that where I had these circles would be in the right place for the holes, then I just took a little bit of art glitter glue and glued them down in place. Then next what I did is I applied double-sided foam tape on the back of the panel. And then of course I'll peel back all that adhesive backing, and then I'm actually going to put some art glitter glue on top of the pieces that kind of border this panel. That's just to give me a little bit more wiggle room. It makes these foam tapes just slippery for a tiny short time, and I did that just to make sure that I got this placed properly. And at this time you can see that I'm placing this on top of the actual red and white card base. So it's going all together now on the front of the card. Next I'm going to put in my animals. Aren't these just the cutest little things? You can earn these when you place an order, and with a qualifying order you can choose one of the stamps that are this year's freebies. I believe there are 6 total. There's the lamb, the cow, the rooster, and an adorable little pig. And then there's also a cat and an owl. So they all kind of had a farm theme this year. So once I get these into their circles, it just adds a cute little farm vibe to this card. And now I'm going to use one of the roosters from the Hen House Cubby Set, and I'm going to put that in the corner. I'm also going to put a little sign in there. This one actually is going to say "The Chick Inn." And I just colored that in some tan Copic marker. I really didn't do anything fancy with that one. And I'm just going to tuck it a little bit behind the rooster, and I think it's super cute. I'm going to decorate this a little more before I'm done. I'll use some enamel dots, but for now I'm going to move on to the interior of the card. So I want to create some grass. I've got a grass die here, and I'm only going to be able to do part of it because the length I need is too long for the die. And you'll notice that I placed a piece of washi tape where I thought was a good place to end before it dipped down too low. In other words, the hill dipped down too low. And then I'm going to replace the die again, trying to line it up so that I won't get too much of a problem with the grass looking weird. I want it to look like it's a single piece. So I'll just line that up so that it will cut it in such a way that the blades of grass don't look weird and they continue on just as they did before I cut it for the second time, if that makes sense. And there you go. And you see I was pretty successful at that. I had one little piece that was kind of needed to be cut off, but other than that it looked as if it was one continuous piece. This is going to be attached to the interior lining of my card, and I've chosen a blue plaid to kind of represent sky. And I'm going to glue this grass in just around the borders of it, not quite all the way to the end because I know that this piece is a little bit too long. This way I don't have a bunch of glue squishing out at the ends and getting all over my glass mat here. And of course, if some does, it easily comes off, but you know, I'm just trying to keep things neat. I'm going to take this to my paper trimmer now to cut the edges off. If I had scissors with long blades, I would use that to trim it off, but I don't. So to get a straight line with the scissors I have is almost impossible when it's this long of a cut. So in this situation, I will use the trimmer to make that nice and even. And there you go. I'll fold it in half just to get that crease going nicely. It's a really good idea to do this also before the glue fully dries. It's just going to fold nicer for you. The next thing I'll make for my interior scene is a sun, and I've done this by first cutting out a circle with the circle double stitch dies from Art Impressions again, and then I'm cutting just slivers of matching cardstock. And then you can use this to create a sun. I flipped it over so that the nice stitching will show when I have it in place on my card. But on the back side, I'm going to place these strips. And I actually, by the way, did cut a couple more strips. This wasn't quite enough, but I didn't show this in the video. But the construction's really simple. All I'm doing is taking a little bit of glue and applying it to the rays and then applying it to the back of the sun. And to kind of get these sort of evenish and looking nice, I stagger these by first putting them in as like a Y shape. And then I'll start filling in the remaining spaces, just like you're seeing here. And that will get you a sun with rays pretty evenly spaced on the back side. Now these rays do need to be trimmed down in most cases. I'll show you that next. I kind of do every other one, long, shorter, and then also cut them at angles. And then this will give you a nice sun with a different length rays, and it really works nicely. If you don't have a sun die, this is a perfect way to get one without too much effort. And it really does look very, very nice. So I'm going to place this down now. I should have paid attention a little bit more and moved it slightly farther in so I wouldn't have cut my rays almost completely off there on the right corner, but it's still fine. And I'm happy enough with that. So now I'm going to create the pop-up piece, and this is so simple, guys. What we're going to do is go to the bottom of my card base, or my card liner actually, and put my cutter blade right at 1.5 inches. And then move that up and cut that. So again, 1/2 inch from the edge. Then I'm going to move it so that it's 1.5 inches from the edge. Move my blade again to 1.5 inches. Push that in and cut it to match. If you don't have a cutter that makes this as easy as I'm showing here, then what you should do is take your ruler and a pencil and make the marks on the back and cut it with a craft knife. That center 1-inch piece is actually going to fold the opposite way of the liner, so that's going to be a mountain fold, whereas the rest of it is a valley fold. There needs to also be a score line between the two slits that you've made, and this is because we're going to have a fold line here as well. So I just used my ruler and a little tool to mark that. That's enough to allow me to start training that fold. Another way to do this would be to put it on your scoreboard and follow the line and use a typical tool and do it that way. Either way will work. I've just done enough scoring and things over time and worked with these 3D cards enough that I'm confident to just do it this way. It's a little less time involved. But in the end, then when you close this card, it's going to look like that. You're going to have this chunk missing, and you might think, oh, that's not right. But it actually is right. Because remember, this is a liner, so it's going to go inside our card base. All right, we'll come back to that in a moment. But before we can go any further, I want to prepare the hen house to go on the pop-up piece that we've created. So I'm finding the center that I want to score based on where the doors of the hen house open. This is not really exactly the center of the hen house, but when I put this on the pop-up piece, it only makes sense that the center is going to be exactly where the doors open. Now I did score that weather vane, but I didn't end up folding it there. So I found I actually didn't have to do that. And then the weather vane stood up just nicely by itself. It turns out quite nice actually. So once the fold was completed, it's ready to put on the pop-up piece. And now you can see that it will be attached to that wedge that is sticking out. And this is what allows it to get that 3D look when you open it. So it just takes a little bit of glue to tack that on and placing it so that the fold line or the score line in the hen house matches the fold line and score line of that grass piece that we prepared a minute ago. So you can see how really this is quite simple to do, and you don't need any special dies to make that happen. And now the interior is ready to put inside the card base. And I'm just going to use art glitter glue again along the edges of the card liner. And once that's ready, I will put it into the center of this card. So I would say it's a little bit easier if you do this 1/2 at a time. Just put glue on 1/2 facing up and then fold it shut. And then you can easily glue the other side. I did both sides at once, because I'm complicated and I like to make things harder for myself. But it did work fine for me. I would just say if you're not used to doing this, it'd be easier for you to do one side at a time. I think it looks great just the way it is, but of course we're going to put all the little chicks and the rooster in here, and it's just going to really make this hen house come alive. So I thought it would be fun to put the rooster in so that he'd be coming out of the big doors there of the hen house, because he's the king of the castle. So this placed really nicely, and then as I'm adding all of the little birds, I'm going to make sure that it closes without binding on anything. That little chick there has his legs sticking out like he's hopping off, so I thought he was perfect on the little ramp that goes up to the hen house. And then this bird looked to me like it was sitting on top of something, so I put him on top of the lean-to roof. This fellow looked like he was just on his little butt, so I put him in the grass. This one was perched, and so I thought again he'd look cute on the roof. The next one's going to go in the center window, and like most of these, I'll just put glue on one side and tuck it in either on the inside or the outside of a window frame. In this case, I went inside. And then, of course, just double checking to make sure, again, there's no binding or anything happening as I put in each chick. Next, I thought I would put in the little sign. It's so cute. It says, "Fluffy Butt Hut." It's a little hard to say for some reason, but it's what a cute little saying, and so true of this little chicken coop. All right, so then I've got another little chick I'm putting in a window there on the left side, and I'm just going to keep adding chicks here and there, and I actually made 2 of every single chick and 2 of the roosters, because remember I used the rooster, the extra rooster, on the front of the card as well. So it's really quite easy to just tack these little birds in wherever you feel it's appropriate or wherever you desire to put them. I put 2 chicks on the grass along with the broken egg. I wanted it to kind of look like maybe one of those chicks had just hatched out of it. And 3 little chicks in the end on the right side. I think it looks quite nice. Now I'm going to do a sentiment for the inside. It's going to say Happy Birthday. This is from the Baby Critters set. And then I'm going to use this tag from the gift card holder envelope set. It of course cuts the envelope, but also there's some tags in there that I use from time to time in my other card making. To decorate this up, I'm going to use a glitter enamel dot, and I had actually heat embossed this sentiment with white embossing powder just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then I'm going to glue this to the left side of the interior, and that will give me the birthday sentiment I need for this birthday card. And of course, this theme could be anything. It could be a hello card, it could be a thank you card. It could really be used for anything. I think this one turned out really fun, and when you open it up, it's kind of surprising to see that 3D element. And you can open the doors and you sort of just kind of play around with those a little bit. Also, after I completed this, I did add a few red and green enamel dots on the front, and I thought that gave it its finishing touch. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope you liked seeing how I made this 3D pop-up card. If I've provided you inspiration and tips, I hope you will give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and of course subscribe. As always, I have a complete supply list in my video description for you, so have a great week, and I'll be back soon with another video.